Another Psalm of David. This one blends three themes. First, God blesses those who care for the weak. Second, David's sick and surrounded by enemies. Third, betrayal comes from a close friend. It ends with praise, closing book one of Psalms, okay? Blessed is the one who considers the poor. This is not just feeling bad for them, but acting wisely and kindly. David says God will deliver them in trouble, protect and preserve them, sustain them on their sick bed, restore them from illness. God takes mercy seriously. How you treat the weak matters, okay? David prays, have mercy on me, heal me, for I have sinned against you. He connects his needs for healing with his need for mercy, okay? In suffering, David doesn't only ask for relief, but he asks for cleansing. His enemies say, when will he die? They visit, but it's fake. They gather information, then spread it. They assume his sickness means he won't recover, okay? Some people don't just want you to fail, they want your weakness to be final. Then this is the famous verse. Even my close friend who shared my bread has lifted his heel against me. That image is like a sudden kick from someone you trust at the table. Betrayal hurts most when it comes from proximity, not from strangers. Yes, exactly. We're invested in that person. So more do you love, more do you hate. You kind of shift the feeling. Love equals hate when it's shifted the intensity. Okay, then Dave asks God to raise him up, not only to survive, but so the enemies don't get the last word. He says, by this I know you're pleased with me. My enemy doesn't triumph. Then you uphold me because of my integrity and set me in your presence forever. Vindication matters because it shows God's care, not because it feeds pride. Then the closing doxology. Praise be to the Lord from everlasting to everlasting. Amen and amen. This is also a structural ending. It closes the first major section of Psalms. The book ends the season with worship, even while life is messy. Let's check the key lessons from Psalm 41. The first one is God honors practical compassion toward the weak. Second lesson, in sickness, bring both healing and sin to God. Third lesson, enemies often weaponize weakness with gossip and prediction, okay? Fourth lesson, betrayal from a close friend is a real biblical theme, okay? Another lesson, ask God for vindication so evil doesn't get the last word. And final lesson, endings in the Psalms often land in praise. In summary, Psalm 41 begins by blessing those who care for the God and promises God's support for the merciful, especially in trouble and sickness. David then prays for mercy and healing, admitting sin, while describing enemies who gossip and hope for his death. The deepest wound is betrayal from a close friend who shared his table. David asks God to raise him up and preserve his integrity. And the psalm closes with a strong statement of praise, marking the end of book one of Psalms. Okay, don't forget that like button and subscribe to the channel, and I see you in the next one.